Well, welcome everyone. My name is Marilyn Wilson, and I'm the president of retechnology.com, and I'm really excited to introduce our guest speaker today, who's going to take you through some really compelling methods for taking your business to a whole new level with how to generate and convert and to close leads today. We've got with us today Joe Sesso. He is from Homes.com, and he's also the author of Secrets of Top Selling Agents in the Foreclosure Revolution. And he's about to publish another book. Maybe he'll give us a little sneak peek on what that looks like. He's also a realtor and a real estate investor, so that's awesome. And just wanted to welcome him. And then first, before we get into this, if you look on the right-hand side of your panel, of your screen, you'll see a little blue and gray box. And about halfway down, you'll see a section that says questions. And it's a blue bar, and then there's a little gray triangle next to it. So if at any time during the session you have questions, if you just click on that little blue or that little gray triangle and open it up and type it in, we may answer the question right as you ask it, or we may hold it for the end. So if you don't hear us answer it right away, we're not ignoring you. We may just get to it at a different time of the presentation, okay? So with that, I would love to turn it over to Joe, and he's going to take us through all kinds of neat stuff. So go ahead, Joe.
Okay, well, hey, thanks, Marilyn, and happy Tuesday, everybody. It's great to share some great information with you, and welcome to this webinar. So I'm going to start by throwing a scenario at the audience here. So let's say this: a buyer is interested in a home, and the question now is, who is going to convert this lead? So A, is it the listing agent for the property that they're interested in? B, is it the website that posts the information for the consumer? Or is it C, the first agent who talks to them? Well, according to an NAR study, which is the largest study they do every year, the Buyer and Seller Survey, 68% of buyers only interview one real estate professional. So if you look at it, the key here is this. We know that speed is critical, but really this data here shows that you need to be fast and you need to be first. And the first person who speaks with an individual who's interested in a property, more times than not, more than 2/3 of the time, according to NAR, is going to win. So something to really be aware of. And that's kind of the theme of today's webinar, is going to show you some techniques, some tips, some tricks to beat your competition to the call, and to also overcome some of these newer models that we're seeing out there today. So really, the first agent to put a lead into their funnel is going to control the process. And what I want to do is I want to talk about a couple different models here that are out there today, that some people have embraced these models, and others have kind of said, hey, you know what, this is not good for my business and my commission checks and things like that. So I want to kind of talk about these first, and then we're going to spend the rest of the day here talking about how we can overcome and really level the playing field with some of these networks. So the first one we're going to talk about here are the referral networks. And this is what we call the OpCity model. And there's other companies, there's copycat companies out there today that are doing very similar things. And so what basically we're talking about here is these are licensed brokerages, but they're not actually going out there and selling listings themselves and representing buyers. What they're doing is they're generating leads or buying leads and then referring these qualified leads out to real agents out there that can help them close a transaction, and then the agent then would pay a referral fee back to these models. So what happens is a call comes in, and they have their quote unquote agents. In many cases, the people answering the phone are not licensed. They're asking the basic screening questions, so they can't really get into a lot of these difficult questions like, hey, talking about the property itself. When the conversation turns to that's when they're going to transfer the call out. But they'll take the call. So their whole thing is speed. They got to beat the competition to the call. From there, they're going to qualify the lead. So they'll ask questions like, are you working with an agent? Are you looking to buy versus rent? And are you qualified for a mortgage right now? So they'll ask questions like that. And then as soon as once they're able to qualify this person, what they'll do then is they'll go within their network, and then they will route that lead through their app or through just a transfer to an agent in that area to then have them work with that buyer or that seller then to close out the lead. And then when the deal closes, you pay a commission and referral fee. So the pros here are that the agents don't have to put out any money. They're not buying leads. They're not buying into this network, which they can appreciate, because if they don't sell anything, they don't owe anything. But as agents start making money, they're paying 35% referral commissions to these companies, and that's a lot of money, especially if you're part of a team and you still have to do a broker split plus split with your team and split with the referral network. And we're seeing a lot of backlash in the industry from teams out there that just don't want to share commissions and that type of split. Now that's one model that you're seeing a lot. It's taking a hold of thing, because OpCity was purchased by Realtor.com, or by their parent company, for over $200 million, and so you've seen that happen. And now you have a lot of other companies out there trying to do a similar type of business model. The other one are what we're calling the iBuyers, and the I in iBuyers stands for instant buyers. So and this is Zillow Offers is one of the models, but there's other companies out there. Open Door was the first one to do this. They started in 2013. Other companies like Knock, OfferPad, Redfin is now doing this as well. And there was just a post today about the Realogy is now rebranded their iBuyer program as well. But the way this works is, if they're in the market, in your marketplace, a homeowner can literally go online, fill out a form, and then receive an instant offer for their property, literally sight unseen. So now what happens is the iBuyer now has that seller in their funnel. They're controlling the process. So if me as a seller say, you know what, that's a fair offer, I'll take it. Now my house is sold. I can close in as little as 3 days and get all cash. So the good news is there's no mortgage contingency here. And the other thing, the bad news is that they can buy with or without an agent. So if I don't have representation, I'm selling by owner, and that could really be a problem. So it's important to have professional representation, of course, because of the fact that I'm signing a contract on something that I don't know all the small print. And so what I don't realize is that these companies, these iBuyers, are taking more than twice of what a normal commission would be. They're taking 12 to 15%, sometimes even more, of what they call a transaction fee to close the deal. It's kind of a convenience factor. I can close in 3 days, but I'm going to pay for that. The thing is about this is that there's a lot of a misconception here is that a lot of the people think, oh, I'm selling my house as is. Well, that's not the case. These iBuyers have done a lot of transactions, so they've gone through this a few times. So even though there's no mortgage contingency, which is good, they still do a home inspection. And if there's repairs that need to be done, I'm either going to have to pay for the repairs or offer them a credit on top of the service fee that I'm already paying. So now we could be talking about a lot more money than I originally was going to be paying out to the iBuyer. So again, that's one of the things that these iBuyers have been doing, and they're now in a lot of markets across the country. But really, the main thing is first of all, knowing about these, that they exist. And the important thing is that those are ways that they're doing, that these companies are out there to try to generate some lead activity. One of the things that some of these companies are doing is they're offering the iBuyer model. And a lot of times, and the statistics show that only about 1% of people who apply for, say, hey, what's my home worth, make me an offer, actually accept it. But what that does, though, is it tells these iBuyers that, hey, this person or this family here is interested in selling their home. So they consider that a seller lead that then they can work down their funnel. So the thing is we want to be able to own our leads. And there's 3 keys to that. The 3 ways to own your leads are through early lead generation. So you're generating leads before it's going into one of these other models. The second thing, of course, is the fast conversion process. And this is what these OpCity models really thrive at. This is what they've really gotten good at, is the fast conversion process. And then, of course, it's owning the whole funnel, being able from start to finish, own that entire funnel. And we're going to talk about that as well today. But the first thing we want to focus on is the lack of leads challenge. And really, when we think about this, we're going to talk about 3 places where you can really generate great lead activity. There's number 1 is from your listings. So when you get a listing, of course, that's a great way to generate leads, whether you're getting it from drive-bys from your sign, from open houses you're using, or just call ads from online advertising. Of course, then there's also your website. And your website could be a lead generating machine, although as you'll see later on, that many agents today, this is a spot where they're not getting a lot of lead activity, and I'm going to show you how to overcome that challenge, because if you want to talk about high quality, exclusive leads, there's no better place than your website. The trick there is, how do I get traffic to that? We're going to solve that problem today. And then, of course, there's everything else. Everything else could be working for sale by owners, expireds, online advertising, different products there, or different opportunities for you to generate leads off other listings or doing other marketing activities. And this quote here is really important to remember, because this could be, at first glance, it might not be such a big deal, but over time, this could be a real career killer. I don't have enough leads coming in to fill my sales pipeline. The lead pipeline is really the most important thing for an agent. It's the lifeblood of an agent's business. You have to keep that pipeline full with leads and consistent with leads, so that you can convert those leads, generate leads, and have a consistent flow of business coming in. What happens is that typically you might get these peaks and valleys. You might have a lot of leads coming in at one time, and then you might not have a lot of leads coming in, or any leads coming in for some time. And when these pipelines go dry, you reach this critical stage where this is where a lot of agents leave the business. And we know that the turnover rate is very high in this industry. 50% of people who get a license today will not renew in 2 years. And of those that do renew in 2 years, an additional 50% will not renew 2 years after that. So we know that as agents, that this industry is very competitive, and there's a high turnover rate. There's a high turnover meaning high failure rate. And the number one reason is that there's not enough leads in the pipeline to keep the business flowing. So when we talk about this is a really critical factor, and that's the main reason why I wanted to address this first. So let's talk about resource number one, lead generation sources. And this is really generating more leads in the buying and selling process. Now, to do this, we need to first understand the buyer behavior. It's really important, because if we can understand buyer behavior, we can go to where the buyers are going and to be the first person they see. Because remember, that 68% number. 68% of buyers will work with the first person they talk to. The key is, I need to know where they're going so I can be in front of them. So what's the first thing the buyers do? Well, the first thing the buyers do is 44% of them look for online for properties. 17% contacted a real estate agent first, so they may have already had a relationship with an agent, could be a former agent they've used before, and they wanted to connect with them to be able to say, ask questions like, how's the market? I'm really looking to buy some property, or I want to maybe sell my home and I want to buy something else. What's out there? And then 11% looked online for information about the home buying process. Probably first-time buyers in many cases. Now, a lot of these people did all three of these things. But the question is, what is the first thing that buyers do? So some of them might say they might start by looking online for information about the home buying process. Then they might look for properties online, and then they might contact an agent off one of those properties to have them show them a property. But again, this is the first thing. And this again comes from the 2018 NAR Buyer and Seller Survey. The great thing about that survey is that it went out to people who actually bought and sold a home last year. So you're actually getting really fresh information from people who just completed the process of buying or selling a home. And that's where this data comes from. So when we think about the home buying process, a typical buyer who did use the internet and searched for 10 weeks and visited 10 homes. So that's typically what you're looking at. So they look at maybe 10 homes, they visited 10 homes, they've been looking for 10 weeks. In the very beginning stages might just be, just casually looking. As they see a property they like, they connect with an agent. They maybe look at they look at the house the first time. They might say, you know what, let's take a look around for a little bit more. Maybe the property that they like gets purchased by somebody else, and they might take a step back for a little bit. But that's your average. What we're looking at there is 10 homes in 10 weeks. But the interesting stat here is this, and when you want to get in front of where the buyers are going, 76% of buyers that were looking on homes.com were not yet committed to an agent. So when we think about these numbers, it's 68% are going to connect with the first agent they talk to and work with them. On a site like homes.com, 3/4 of the buyers on homes.com are not yet committed to an agent. So 3 out of every 4 are fair game for agents to generate lead activity from. So there's huge lead generating opportunities right from there. So it's important to remember those stats. Now we're talking about the first thing most people did was search for a home online. So now the next question is, from that same survey from NAR, was what action did you take after you searched for homes for sale online? Well, 67% walked through the home that they viewed online. They actually went into it. So maybe they went to an open house, maybe they called an agent and they scheduled an appointment to see the property. Now, 41% saw the exterior and the neighborhood, but didn't walk through. So they said, hey, you know what? I'm not really familiar with that neighborhood. Let's take a drive by. Let's drive through the neighborhood, check it out, look at the house, get a closer look, and if we're interested, we'll connect with an agent. And what's funny here is if you're looking at if you're trying to add up the math, you're like, wait a minute, these add up to much more than 100%. How is that even accurate? Well, it's the math is not wrong, but a lot of people did more than one of these actions. So I might have searched for a home for sale online, then said, you know what, I'm not really familiar with that neighborhood. Let's drive through it. Drove through it, said, oh, I like it. So let me go find an agent now to search for to buy that home. And I find an agent, and then the agent shows me the home, makes an appointment. So I've done 3 of those actions right there. And that's how they get these numbers. So the other thing is some might 28% just requested more information. So they may have gone online and just filled out an online lead form and said, just tell me more about this property. And 35% found an agent used to search for or buy the home. So one of the things that I like to bring up is that looking at untapped markets, we know that real estate is very competitive. We know it's a very competitive industry and there's a lot of competition out there. What we need to look at is an untapped way to dominate a market using a system. And really the key today is systems, because what you have to understand is that, these companies like these referrals, these OpCity referral model type companies, these are very sophisticated companies. They have systems in place. That's what made them successful. And as an agent, individual agent trying to compete against a sophisticated $100 million company, it's not easy. If I'm even a team, it makes it more difficult. We have to systematize our business to be able to stay competitive with these large companies. 10 years ago, you didn't have to worry about that. It was really agent versus agent. And we all pretty much had the same technology. Today, we've seen a lot more specialization and sophistication in the industry to where now we need to figure out ways to level the playing field to make it an even game. So one of the untapped markets areas is this. Did you know that 71% of first-time home buyers rented their previous living arrangement? Now, that, if you think about it, it's pretty obvious, because you think, well, where else are they coming from? Some live with their parents, maybe some lived in a college dorm, but 71% rented before they bought. Now, when I call this an untapped market, what I mean is that a lot of agents, when you talk about real rentals, they run away from rental properties. They say, oh, I don't want to touch rentals. Even though their pipeline is dry and they're not making any money, they still run away from them. And a lot of these referral networks, like the OpCities and things, they don't work with rentals either. So if you think about it, there's an untapped market because there's less competition there. But one of the things that you might not realize is that a large number of these, what we call leads that come in as renters, quote unquote, they actually can qualify to buy a home today. So we did a study with a company. Homes.com did a study. We generate rental leads and purchase buyer and seller leads on our website. And there was a mortgage company that came in and they were buying up a lot of rental leads in the Southwest USA. And we asked them. We said, so you're a mortgage company. What are you doing? Buying these rental leads? And they were spending a lot of money with us. And they said, well, what we do is we've actually got a system down. We've partnered with realtors all over the Southwest, and what happens is when a lead comes in, we'll call them up and say, hey, we're calling on behalf of so-and-so. We know you're interested in this property, and we'd love to show you this property. But before we can do that, as you know, it's important to have your credit score pulled so that you can walk in, and if the property looks good and you like it, to show that to the landlord so that it helps us build our case to have you rent this house. So they run the credit complimentary for these leads that come in, and so it's a great screening process, because the people say, well, they'll tell them right off the bat, well, my credit's bad. Well, let's run it anyway. Let's find out. Oh, no, that's okay. Okay, then that lead, then they won't show them that property. The ones that run the credit, and if it's bad, they'll say, you know what, I'm sorry, we can't. I can refer you to the agent. They can try to show you some other properties if they want, but we can't show it to you. The other thing then is that when they pull this credit score that's good, that says, wow, you got like a 700 credit score, Then they'll show them things like the rent versus buy schedule. Like, here, if you bought it with today's interest rates, and then you bought a house for this much money, this is how much your mortgage payment would be. And you came in as a rental lead looking at a property that was for rent for this much. You're actually saving a couple $100 a month if you bought a house today. Did you know that? And so what they're doing is they're converting a lot of these people into buyer leads. They said that 30% of the leads that they get on the phone can actually qualify to buy a home today. Now, they don't all buy the home right away, because some of them are relocations and they just trying to find an area to choose to live in. But 30%, that's a very high number, and it's an untapped market because nobody else was going after them. So that's an untapped market. It's an idea. It's one way to be able to kind of beat the competition and get away from the crowds of everybody going after the same thing. Now, the next thing is this. We talk about going back to that OpCity model and talking about speed. A lot of agents say, hey, I'm too busy to immediately follow up with leads. And I put in parentheses, whether you know it or not. Because what happens is, a lot of times when I talk to agents, I'll say to them, so you're buying leads online, and are you calling them back, right away? And they say, oh yeah, I call them back right away all the time. Okay. But here's the problem. The definition of right away is varies per person, because right away doesn't always mean right away. We know that it's extremely important to call within the first minute of getting a lead. And if you call somebody within the first 5 minutes, you're 100 times more likely to convert that lead convert the lead than you are if you call in minute 30. So 100 times more likely to convert the lead to a client in that time period. So we know that's important. But the thing is a lot of times people say, yeah, I get a lead that comes in, and I'm dropping the kids off at school, and maybe I have to wait 3 or 4 minutes, and then I call back. Now, they might say I called them right away, but what they really mean to say is I called them back as early as I could. Or maybe I'm sitting in line at Starbucks and I'm thinking, okay, it's too loud in here. I'll wait till I get out of here with my coffee, and then I'll call them back. And maybe that takes 4 minutes. I call them back right away. I call them back as soon as I could. So it was right away by the standards of the agent, but it really wasn't right away. And that's really what the definition needs to be. And a lot of agents don't know, because we can't predict when these leads are coming in. They come in at all different times of the day, and we just can't be sitting by the phone waiting for them, because we have to have business happening. So that's kind of where the advantage comes in for these other companies, is like these OpCities. They are literally waiting by the phone. So when a lead does come in, they can call right away. So by the time you call 2 or 3 minutes later, that person's already on the phone being qualified by somebody else. So that's what I mean by saying we need to level the playing field, and we need a lead conversion strategy. So let's talk about this. So speed, we know it's a key factor, but this is a California Association of Realtors study. And really what it was the most important reason for selecting an agent was that the agent seemed most responsive and was first to respond. And that's, again, talking about the same type of thing same theme we've been talking about since the beginning of our conversation here. And the challenge are these inside sales teams, these ISAs. When you have a company like the OpCity model, they are literally waiting by the phone for leads to come in. So it's very hard for an individual agent to compete with that when I have things going on in my life. I'm with a client. I can't take this call right now. I'm driving down the street, and I don't have my hands-free device in my ear. There's a lot of different things that come up where we want to call back as soon as we can, but it's still not fast enough. So there's a couple remedies to the situation here. The first one is you can hire an ISA. You can, if you have a team or you want to build a team, you can actually hire somebody that is literally just sitting in the office waiting for leads to come in. And if you have a large volume of lead flow, then this is probably something that you want to do. It's definitely worth the expense. You can train the person to how to qualify the lead, what to say, and then they can do a warm handoff to you when the lead is qualified, and be able to help you convert the lead faster and beat your competition to that call. But most agents don't have that type of lead volume where they can have somebody sitting by the phone and paying them by the hour to do that every day. So the question is, what then? What can I do now with regards to that? And in that case, if you would talk about how do I compete, then you have to think about this, is that it does take a team. But it doesn't mean you actually have to physically hire somebody to sit in your office and work for you. So there's companies, and and Homes.com is one of them, that actually have a lead concierge department where you actually have somebody you can pay a monthly fee, and the monthly fee is extremely inexpensive. It's less than what you pay for Starbucks every day. And what happens is that you have a team that's literally waiting by the phone for leads to come in. And when they come in, they are called, they're qualified. So are you working with an agent? Are you looking to rent versus buy? These type of questions. And then they do a warm handoff to you, so that when you see that phone ringing and you know it's coming in from that company or whatever company it might be, if it's Homes.com or any other company, you know that there is a warm lead on the other end of that phone, and I should answer it. Okay, no matter what I'm doing, because now I can qualify the lead, set up an appointment, and then get on with what I was doing. But a lot of times we don't take those calls because we think, oh, maybe it's spam, it's a telemarketer, whatever it might be. Because you'll recognize the number that's coming in, and that is a difference. Now, some agents say, well, you know what? I'm only getting 5 leads a month, so I don't know if I really need this. If you're only getting 5 leads a month, to that I'd say this is even more important than ever, because every lead matters. If you're only getting 5, and 3 of them come in 1 month, and you're not, you're busy and you can't call them back right away, you've just missed out on 3 potentially golden opportunities for new clients and to make a nice commission on that. And so it's even more important than ever to do that, to have that have that team. And if you can't hire somebody to literally physically sit in your office, the next best thing is to hire a lead concierge company that is literally sitting by the phone waiting for your lead to come in. So they can qualify them and hand them over to you, and you can end up competing with these large-scale, sophisticated operations that are out there today. And that really is what it's going to take. Is you need to have that team to do that. Now, we think about, we get these phone calls that do come in. So if you're qualifying a lead, or as you're working with a lead comes in, and this is what some of these companies are doing. Just so I want to share this science with you. If I'm having trouble converting the leads that I'm getting, is there a science to it? And the answer is yes, there is. There's a science to how you generate leads. So the first thing is that you have to understand is that when you get leads, is that you need to make sure that they're being input into a CRM system. You'll be surprised how many people give up on leads so fast. Most people give up on leads if they try to call a lead back within a day or 2 days. Some people go as much as 3 days. And if the lead doesn't return a phone call or anything, or a text or an email, then the realtor just considers it dead. And so they will not follow up with that lead at all. They'll say, yeah, I tried to call them so many times, they didn't call back. I'm not going to call them anymore. But if you're able to put them in a CRM system and then be able to use tools like a drip marketing campaign or a follow-up campaign, you'd be surprised how many leads come back after weeks on the sideline to come back to it. And I was one of them. So I'll just tell you a quick story about myself. I bought a house last year in Florida, and I was looking, but I wasn't really sure if I wanted to buy right away. And so what happened was that I saw a house I liked, and I looked at it, and I was driving to the neighborhood, so I saw this house, walked in at an open house, liked it, thought about it a little bit, probably waited a little too long before I was able to call my mortgage broker. And by the time I had everything ready to go for the offer, the house had gone under contract. And so I was kind of bummed out about it. And I said, well, there's no sense of urgency on my part. I can wait. So what I did was I took myself off, put myself on the sidelines for a while and just sat back. And the realtor just gave up on me. They just gave up after I put the offer in. They just kind of gave up, and after like 2 weeks, I never heard from them. So about another month and a half went by, and I saw a house that I really liked. I saw it online, and I connected with a realtor. And this time, I put an offer in. I was ready to go, but I didn't get that one either. And then what we did was we drove around, we looked at a bunch of houses, and I did see another one I really liked, and put the offer in, and it was accepted. But the agent never gave up on me. The first agent did. And you'd be surprised how many people do that. And so it happens a lot, and that's why it is important to have a CRM system, because you would be surprised how many people will come back off the sidelines, like myself, a month or so later, because they just get dejected. This was the one house they wanted, they didn't get it, and they feel like, oh, you know what, I'm just gonna hold off for a little while until they see another house they really like. So that's the big thing that a lot of people don't realize. So let's talk about some conversion techniques. So this is what a lot of companies are doing when these leads come in. And this is, I'm going to share some secrets with you here. So there's actually a callback formula. So when a lead comes in, the first thing you want to do, of course, is you want to call it within the first minute. And so what happens is when you make that phone call, obviously the objective is to get a connection and to start the qualifying process. But let's say you call and you get voicemail. What should you do? Well, don't leave a message. What you want to do is you want to do what's called a double dial. So what you'll do is you'll hang up and you will immediately redial the number and you'll call again. So the double dial, we've probably all been double dialed before. You see a number you don't recognize in your phone, you say, I'm not going to answer it. I'll let it go to voicemail and I'll find out who it is. Well, it doesn't go to voicemail. They call back right away. And then you think to yourself, well, this must be really important. I better answer the phone now. And you answer the phone. Well, if you do, you've just been double dialed. So it's a great technique. It does get people to answer the phone. And again, what you want to do, of course, is make that connection. And one thing to keep in mind is that when somebody fills out a lead form, they want to be contacted. So it's okay to call them multiple times because they're the ones that said, please call me. That's why they fill out this lead form. So you're going to double dial in the first minute. Now, if I don't make contact with them the second time I call, I will leave a voicemail. And I'll just leave the basics. Hey, this is Joe Sesso calling from XYZ Realty. Hey, I'm calling because you inquired about the property here on 123 Main Street. I've got the information you're looking for. I can even show you this property today. Give me a call back. I can give you all the information you're looking for. So I'll leave that brief message. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to do something called bursting. Okay, bursting is using various forms of communication to connect with somebody because maybe somebody's at work right now. They can't take a phone call, a personal phone call. So I'll send them a text message right away, pretty much saying the same thing that I said on the voicemail. And then hopefully they'll communicate that way. If they communicate back that way, again, we start the open line of communication with converting that lead. If they still don't respond, I'll send an email out, pretty much echoing the same thing I've just said the other two ways. These techniques come from Chris Smith's best-selling book, The Conversion Code. And in my book, The Secrets of Top Selling Agents, Chris wrote the foreword for the book, but he's also featured in 2 chapters in there. So this is a great technique for converting inbound leads. Now the formula is after I've done the bursting, at minute 10, so from the time the lead comes in the 10th minute afterwards, I will call again. This time I will not leave a voicemail. So I'll call and if they don't answer, then I won't leave a voicemail, but I will call back then at minute 30. So that'll be my third call. And if they still don't answer at that time, I will send them another text message. And then the final call I'll make that day will be at hour 2. So 2 hours after the lead comes in, I'll make my final call. I will leave a voicemail telling them I've been trying to get in touch with them. Give me a call back. I can set up an appointment. And then I'll send an email out at the end of the day if I still haven't heard from them. So that's 4 calls, 2 texts, and 2 emails on day 1. On day 2, I'll make 2 phone calls, 1 in the morning, 1 in the afternoon. I'll send a text message in the morning and an email in the afternoon, just kind of saying I'm trying to get in touch with them. On day 3, I'll do the exact same thing, an AM call and a PM call, and an AM text and a PM email. Now, at that point, I won't keep calling them, but I will put them in a drip marketing campaign. And if you think about it, one of the great campaigns, and it'll be in my CRM, but one of the great campaigns is this. We all have this in our MLS where we have capabilities of putting people in what we call the prospecting campaign, where somebody tells you what they're looking for, their buying criteria, bedrooms, bathrooms, city, any other requirements that they're looking for, and you can plug all that in. And every time a listing hits the MLS with that exact criteria, they'll get an email from you automatically that tells them about this property. And of course, they can connect with you right away, and you can set up an appointment to show it to them. So what I would do is I would go in and put these leads into one of those type of campaigns, because we know what property they're looking for. We know how many bedrooms that house had. We know how many bathrooms the property had. We know the price range. We know the city. So we already have this information because they filled out the lead form. We pop that in there. And maybe they don't buy that first home. Maybe by the time they go to see that home, somebody else has already made an offer on it. And the same thing happens where they sit back on the sidelines for a little while. But if you've got them in a prospecting campaign like that, a drip marketing campaign, they're getting listings that they're probably just as interested in over the next couple of weeks. And you never know. They might see the next dream home, and then they're going to connect with you to have you show that to them. So it's one of the easiest things you can do, and you already know what they're looking for based on the lead form that they filled out the first time. So that's your formula. And really the fortune is in the follow-up. The more times that you follow up, the more times you stay in communication with them, the better your chances are of converting and closing that lead. So just to recap, it really does take a team. Whether you're talking about using an ISA service or hiring your own ISA to help you convert the leads, I highly recommend it to compete with today's sophisticated referral type networks and services that are out there. If you really want to compete, that's what you really need to do. Also, be scientific about it. Use formulas like we just talked about. Use double dial techniques and bursting and things like that, because those will also help you level the playing field against these companies. Now, the next resource I want to talk about is your website. Your website has a lot of potential to become a lead generating machine. But the fact of the matter is that 82% of agents generated fewer than 5 leads last year from their website. And the median number is 0. So that's a challenge. And I think many of you probably feel the same way, that that's happened. And a lot of us have come basically resigned to the fact that our websites are nothing more than glorified business cards. But that doesn't have to be. You see, the first thing you need to know is understand that your website does need to have certain qualities to it. One, it's got to be mobile responsive. Most searches today are being done on mobile devices, so that's number one. So if you have an outdated website, you need to get that replaced and updated as soon as possible. They need to be interactive, where you can really make it easy for you to interact in a user-friendly manner with the consumer and make it easy for them to search for properties. As part of that buyer and seller survey that NAR does every year, they do ask about what's the number one thing that you're looking for in a website when searching, when you're on, looking for properties. And the number one thing is easy to search. I want to make it easy for me to search for properties. So you want to make that the easiest, the most, looked at function on your website. So it's got to be front and center, make it easy for them to find, because that's the number one thing they want to do. Adding local and fresh content is extremely important. And I'm going to get into that here in a little bit. And of course, good at capturing leads. You'd be surprised how many websites out there that look absolutely gorgeous, but don't have a lot of places to capture leads. There's a lot of sites out there where you can't even fill out a what's my home worth form on it. So all I have is, the option to go on and look at other properties. Well, great. But if I want to find out what my home is worth, and you can generate a seller lead, if there's no place on your website for me to do that, then you just missed out on on 50% of people that might be on your website looking for, services. So you want to make sure that you have multiple forms of lead capture on your website. So understand this. People go out today and will spend thousands of dollars on the most beautiful designs on their website. And I see them all the time. And having a beautiful website is great, but it's really only half the challenge. It's like getting a beautiful sports car, going out and buying that sports car, the brand new Corvette, and you say, oh, what a beautiful looking car. Well, if the Corvette doesn't have an engine in it, it's not going anywhere. It's a glorified paperweight. So there's really 2 components. There's the design, or the chassis if you're talking about an automobile, and then of course there's the engine, or what we call here the search engine optimization for your website. So I want to talk about SEO, and we're going to go through SEO 101 because a lot of people, a lot of agents don't really know exactly what SEO is. Some don't really know what it means. So I'll walk you through here and over a couple questions of what it is, so you'll at least get an understanding of what it is and how you can do it yourself for you to be able to power your website to generate more lead activity. Or if it's something you say, hey, I don't want to do that, I want to outsource that, I'll show you some resources for that as well. So the first thing is this: when you ask yourself, what is SEO? Well, SEO is an acronym, and it stands for Search Engine Optimization. So what basically, in layman's terms, what that means is, how do you rank on Google? So that's really what search engine optimization is. The more optimized my website is, the higher my ranking on Google. So the next thing is, okay, so then what goes into SEO for a website? So I'm going to get into that in a second. I'm going to show you a little diagram. But really what it is there's stuff that can be done on your website as far as the content, the algorithm-friendly content, being able to have it, make sure that there's no broken links on your website. But then there's also off-site stuff. So talking about things that are not on your website. So having things like backlinks and referrals coming back to your site. So we'll go into more of that in a second. So how do I optimize my website if I want to do that to make it better to make it more visible on Google and get better search results? So here's this matrix that I've pulled up for you, and it really comes down to 4 factors. The first one is indexability. So Google, what they do every day is they have what they call their web crawling spiders that go through websites all over the world. And these web crawlers actually go in there, and then they report back to Google and as they index these pages. So if, for example, you have broken links on your page, it's a dead end. It's like hitting a dead end in a maze. You can't go anywhere with it. And so Google it's always about user friendliness for Google. And that's not user-friendly. Nobody likes the experience of clicking on something and getting an error 404 code, right? No one likes that. That's not pleasant. So that's going to actually hurt your SEO. So that's the main thing. You want to make sure that number one is that you clean up those broken links on there. And also think about is the source code on your site is what Google sees. What they can't see is pictures. They don't see pictures, but if you have an alt image where it's actually describing what that picture is of, then Google can see that because they're reading the alt image. So what Google sees is very important because that'll help index it and see if it's relevant to what somebody is searching for. The second thing is relevance. So it's relevance to the actual search. If I'm looking for real estate and I get car dealerships to pull up on my search, that's not relevant. So you want to make sure that that you're showing up in relevant searches. So the keywords that you want to use are keywords that are relevant to your business. So you don't want to just use keywords to try to trick somebody to come into your page, and it's got nothing to do with what they're looking for. The next thing is content. If I'm looking for something, it's the content, not only what kind of content you have on there, but also how fresh the content is. If I want to pull up information about, what happened, what's going on in town this weekend, I don't want to pull up information that happened 2 or 3 years ago. I want something that's going on this weekend. You want fresh content. That's what consumers want. That's what Google wants to give is the most freshest content. So they give more credit to that. And then of course the keywords like real estate in, properties in this subdivision of the city. Those are keywords. Then of course authority. So backlinks. So for example, if your mortgage broker says, hey, you want to look for properties? Click here to go to this, to my agent's site. They click on that link and it takes them to your website. That's a backlink. It links back to your site. So that's an easy way to think about it. And so yes, you want to do that with your partners, with your mortgage brokers, with your home inspectors, title companies. That's a great thing to do. The more backlinks you have, the more credibility it builds with Google that people trust to have your link on their site. Another way to get backlinks is by blogging and doing things where it's got a link to your site there, because the more times people share that blog post, the more times they're sharing a link to your website. And then who's recommending you? So if you get something that somebody like your next door neighbor says, hey, this guy's a great agent, I love it, he's does all the great work, that's great. But if the city says, or somebody really like a bank says, I recommend this agent, they've saved this, they did this great job here, it carries a lot more weight. And so the more weight that a person carries, whether it's from their referral network, the more Google respects it and more credit they'll give to it. So that's really important as well. And then credibility. So through your blog posting, industry-specific links that link back to you, whether it be from your association or other places that have that opportunity, local content talking about things going on in the community, community involvement that you're in, it's posted on your website, and making sure that the content on your site is algorithm friendly, so it's being picked up by Google's algorithm. So if you start working on all this stuff, because you can do all that, you can do all this yourself. How long does it take for SEO to actually work? How long before Google start recognizing it and people start seeing the results? The answer to that question is you're looking at somewhere between 3 to 6 months before you'll see it. One of the interesting things is if you do this right, and what we found with homes.com, because we have SEO services as well, 80% of our customers see at least one keyword. And when I say keyword, it could be a keyword or it could be a key phrase like, Pine Bluffs subdivision real estate. It could be it could be any subdivision or keywords that you've put in. They've seen at least one keyword on page 1 after 6 months. So it's an 80% success rate of getting to page 1. That's really important. And the big question I always get from agents is, well, how can I compete with these larger websites? Not only do I have to compete for SEO with the other agents and the other teams in my area, but I have to compete with the brokerages in my area. On top of that, I have to compete with the main companies of these main franchise sites, the Remax.coms, the KellerWilliams.coms. I got to compete with them. And then I got to compete with the real estate portals like Homes.com. So that's how do I do that? And the key for that is this: is that you never when people are looking for a home, and let's say I'm looking for a home in Chicago. If I'm looking for a home in Chicago, I put Chicago homes for sale or homes for sale in Chicago. Great, that's fine, but that's a very top of funnel lead because I might start looking in Chicago, but eventually I'm going to narrow in on neighborhoods in Chicago because Chicago is a huge city. So I'm not going to look all over the city. I'll look, and maybe after I consult with an agent, I'll zero in on some neighborhoods, and then my focus will be there on those neighborhoods. Well, the key here is that you don't want to be the top of funnel because you're not going to be able to compete at real estate in Chicago. But where you can compete and where you can actually win is when you drill down to what people will be looking for. So the actual subdivisions, the actual neighborhoods, that's where you're going to win against these companies. And so that's where you really want to have your focus. Because think about this: if somebody's really drilling down to that degree and they're typing in homes for sale in a neighborhood, Edison Park, Chicago, now if I'm showing, I can have a better chance of showing up first and beating that other competition because of the fact that that's my specialty. Those are the keywords. And on top of that is that buyer now is further down the funnel. They're more transaction ready because they have gone through the Chicago search. They've gone through the different parts of the city search. Now they're in the neighborhood search, and that is a very transaction ready buyer. And so not only is it going to be less expensive to get there as far as the work you have to put in, but you'll also have a higher conversion rate. And when they're coming through your website, they're exclusive leads. You're not sharing these leads with anybody. And that's the beauty of this. And this is all done with your websites. So remember, you want to stay local only section. That's your really opportunity to do this and to compete is at that level. And that's where a lot of agents make mistakes. They want to go too big. And it really does also matter on where you are. I mean, if I live in Chicago versus living somewhere in a more rural area, there's a lot more competition. There's a lot more searches taking place. So it's going to take more time to get to page one. If I live in a more rural area, then I can get to page one in numerous keyword searches much sooner than my competition, which is pretty awesome. And you want to make sure that you're going to get targeted traffic, and that's why you want to drill down on keywords. Now you might be saying, well, I don't even know what keywords to look at. How do I know? So think about things that you specialize in. And if you need help with this, I'm going to give you a resource that can help you look up some keywords. So here you go. So I want you to get a pen and write these two websites down. The first one is spyfu.com. You can see them on the screen here. The next one is semrush.com. So these are great SEO websites. And so what these websites will do, they each do something, they do a lot of the same things, but some of them specialize in more difference. So SEMrush stands for search engine marketing, and that'll show you all the different keywords that you rank for, what your competition can rank for, where you stand. SpyFu is really dedicated to like different areas of the actual SEO search, and you can really drill down in more specifics that way. But they're great, and they both offer free resources for you to look at what the most popular keywords are, where you're currently ranking, if for any keywords right now, what page you might be on. And so those are really important to get an idea, first of all, where you are. And then you can also use tools through Google to find out what the most popular keyword searches are, or if I want to do a keyword search, how popular is it? If I want to, how many people are actually searching by those keywords on a daily or monthly basis. And those are the type of things that you can look up here using these tools. Now, SpyFu and SEMrush, they do offer some free services. They also offer paid services as well. So they might limit your search numbers for a while if you search too much per month. So I personally use a paid version. And the paid version does offer a lot more, but you can get the basics with the free version on that. One of the things here is that when you look at the keywords up here, this is an example of what it might look like on a SpyFu search. You can look at, this is actually one of our customers at Homes.com. What we did is, in Homes.com, we actually do these SEO services for you. So we can actually do a keyword audit. So we can actually look at all the keywords and then see where you want to rank for. So this is an example of a brokerage that we have. It's a company that's out of Daytona Beach, Florida. And so this company, when they first started with us, the keywords they wanted to rank in, they were luxury home specialists, were luxury homes, Daytona Beach, Florida, and luxury homes, Ormond Beach, Florida. Now you can look at the date they started with us. Their start date was February 17th of 2016, and you can see where they started their ranking was 36 for Daytona Beach, which is page 4 of Google, because there's 10 searches per page, or 10 results per page. So you have first 10, then 20, then 30, so that's 36 on page 4. The second one, Ormond Beach, was on page 59, so it was on page 6. So that was when they started. So after working with us, we've been able to work with them. They soon, within 6 months, he rose to number 1 in luxury homes, Daytona Beach, and number 2 in Ormond Beach. So page 1 on both of them, and actually showing up number 1 and number 2 on these 2 searches. And that just goes to that's just an example. So you'll see as we're doing this work, if you say, you know what, this is a lot of stuff, and it is. Now, there's no secret to SEO. I mean, we're laying it out for you, really, the keys to doing it. But as realtors, as brokers, your jobs are not to do SEO on your website. Your job is to sell real estate. So this might be something you want to delegate. And if you want to do that, you want to go to a company that, number 1, is transparent. There is no smoke and mirrors. If a company tells you we can't share our secrets with you, it's a trade secret, then I would turn around and run away from them, because there's no secret to it. It's a matter of the work. So what we show is the actual work in process, the workflow, the number of hours that were allocated doing certain things. And you can see with full transparency the amount of work and what was put into your website, week by week. So if you want to improve your website's rankings, where do you begin with? So number 1, content is king. So you've got to have content. So we're talking about blogging. We're talking about local content on your website, and we're talking about fresh content that keeps coming up. So not only the real estate from the IDX feed that's coming through your site, but also updating your content, having a weekly blog on there, very important, very powerful. Other things, you can also do a Q&A on there. There was a company that, this is back during the home crisis back in the late 2000s. There was a company that built pools in Arizona, and during this time, people were losing houses to foreclosure left and right, so nobody was having their pools put in. So all these pool companies were going out of business. So this one company was on its way out. They were like, we're coming down to the last couple of months of existence here, and they just decided, with the time they had on their hands, was we're going to write down every single question that a potential person looking for a pool might ask, because they've been asked these questions for years. So they spent 2 days writing down all the questions that they've been asked about getting a pool. How much does it cost? Permit process, this and that. They wrote everything down. Then they spent the next day or so answering all those questions, and they actually posted the Q&A on their website. And the great part about it was they got great SEO, because when people would actually type in questions about, hey, getting a pool, permit process in Phoenix, Arizona, it would go right to their website, to that actual post. So they were actually having the Q&A on there was a great way to provide content that people were actually searching for using the exact keywords on Google. And that was just one example. So think about that. What are the questions buyers ask you? What are questions that sellers ask you about the process? Write out those questions and then answer them. Those are great for building up your SEO. But beating your competition every time, the key is, again, number 1, you can help generate quality leads, not only through SEO. When you're talking about SEO leads coming into your website, what we're talking about is exclusive leads. You're not sharing them with anybody else. So you want to be able to, you can generate leads right to your website, but also then use the scientific approach that we talked about for lead conversion, because they're not going to wait there forever. You can maximize your conversion rate using the scientific method, using techniques like double dialing, bursting, putting them in a CRM system, and then, of course, improving website SEO to generate high-quality exclusive leads. I do want to talk about a couple things here. If you're saying, hey, how do I fill my pipeline for more leads? I'm definitely, that's one of my concerns right now. Homes.com has a product called Local Connect, and this is a way to generate high-quality buyer and seller leads from other people's listings right on Homes.com. So you're getting transaction-ready buyers, people who are actually looking at specific properties and saying, I want information about this property. Can you show them to me? So that is a great way to be able to generate leads in your favorite zip codes, because they're marketed by zip codes, in your favorite zip codes, to generate buyer and seller leads in those areas. Also, we do have a lead concierge service, and I would definitely recommend it because we do unlimited qualifications. That means that, some companies will say, oh, well, after 10 qualifications this month, we got to charge you more money. So whether you're getting 1 qualification a month or 100 qualifications a month, you pay a flat rate fee for that. So it's a great way to bundle it up. Not only can you generate the leads, but now you've got a pro waiting by the phone that's going to be able to qualify and then do a warm transfer to you, for those leads. So that's the Local Connect. You can see it can either reach you by phone or by filling out a form, and it shows up on other people's listings. It also positions you as a neighborhood expert in that particular zip code. So it gives you a great source of branding as well. The number to call is right there. It's 888-918-2918. That's the number you can call if you're interested in looking, having your zip codes looked up, and being able to ask also about the lead concierge. Last thing is this: if you're interested in SEO and you want a free website audit, we are offering a free website audit. You can look at this number. Kevin is our SEO expert, and you can email him at kevin@homes.com, or you can dial this number or text this number, 858-360-8615, and it will go right to Kevin. You can text it or call him, and he will do a free website audit to show you what keywords you're ranking for, to show you what your website can use a little bit more boosting up, and where it's strong and where it needs a little bit more work. So great resources there for SEO as well as Local Connect for generating more leads for your business. And I'll open up for questions.
Joe, we have one question from Alex. He said, what was the company's name that you mentioned that works to answer calls for a coffee a day?
Oh, well, the company's called homes.com. And
that would be you. Okay. Good.
Yeah, and the number is right here on the screen, 888-918-2918.
Gotcha. And I got to tell you, not just as a realtor, but as a company owner, SEO is one of those kind of black boxes, I think, that a lot of people get worried about. Yep. And you're right. There's a million people that call themselves SEO experts or SEO gurus. As soon as I hear that, I'm like, I don't want to talk to you, because nobody's truly an expert at anything these days. But let's go talk about that again. So if a brokerage or an agent said, I don't feel like my website's doing what it needs to do for me, what should they be looking for in that SEO person that they go to? What's the criteria they should look for?
What they should look for is, first of all, they should be able to say, look, if they should be able to say, how long will it take for me to get to page 1? And if somebody wants to give you a number, say, hey, it'll take this much time without going through your website, that's a red flag. Because the first thing is that you want to find out, they need to learn more about your business. What are the keywords that you want to rank for? And then be able to audit your website, be able to say, well, let's see where you're currently ranking. So for example, I showed you that example of the broker in Daytona Beach, Florida. Well, when we did the audit on their company, they were already ranking on page 4 and page 6 for those searches. So we only had to move them up 5 pages and then 3 pages on the other one. Whereas, you might get some people like an agent in that same town looking for luxury real estate. They might not even rank on page 10. And so to start with. And so that's where, like, if somebody's giving you and telling you it'll take this much time without knowing your keywords and without knowing where you're currently ranking, that's a red flag. The second thing is you should ask, hey, what am I getting for my money? Am I going to be able to see the work being done? And the answer should be yes. You should be able to log into a dashboard and be able to see every month where your money is going and what it was being used for, whether it was for on-site optimization, whether it's cleaning up broken links or optimizing your site through source code, or off-site optimization. So maybe helping you write a blog post or some content offline, or getting you put into some different directories with your website link to it, and creating backlinks for that. So that's some of the things some questions that should definitely be asked. And then you should ask them this, is this something that if I'm going to be doing this, are you going to be doing the work, for me? Or are you outsourcing this outside of the country to some foreign country? Because that's a lot of times what they'll do is they'll say, yeah, we're doing it. And then the work's actually being done somewhere in the Far East. And that's where you start getting, things where the keywords aren't matching up because, the English isn't the way it's spoken here. And so
Right.
that's where some of the things you want to make sure you're asking as well.
And when you would talk to someone like Kevin, would he tell you or help you understand what the keywords might be for your market? Because sometimes people may not know what their keywords are.
Yeah, no, for example, they wouldn't know. So what Kevin would ask them is, what do you currently do? Is there anything in particular you specialize in? Is there anything that you'd like to come up in for the searches? And if they said something like, well, I'd like to come up with something for, Miami real estate, they might say, okay, Miami, you might work the whole city of Miami, but that'll probably be tough. He'll be able to show you how many, where you rank right now in that. But then he'll say, is there a certain subdivision you work? Is there a certain area of the city you work? And then what he'll find is he'll be able to find as you start drilling down into maybe a subdivision or maybe a section or neighborhood of that city, now you start seeing that, hey, here's the keywords you can really rank for. And so by uncovering these opportunities, now you can say, okay, let's zero in on that. And you can see where you can rank for that.
So you can have them be realistic about how much any one person can own unless they want to spend thousands and thousands.
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly. And also, though, think about this. It's also where when you think about the keyword searches, it also tells a little bit about the psychology of the person looking, about where they are in the buying and selling funnel, right? If I start with just the city, Miami's a big city, Chicago's a big city. I know that I'm not going to look everywhere around the town to live. I'm gonna narrow down into certain subdivisions or neighborhoods before I even start probably getting out in the car, and that'll come with the assistance of looking online and doing things, and so what'll happen is people start drilling down, and once they start drilling down to an actual neighborhood, now they become more zeroed in and more transaction ready, and that's where you want to be, because if you capture them high up in the funnel, it's going to take a lot more nurturing. And you're going to feel like these leads they're not really serious or not really like ready right now, and so you want them more closer to the purchase decision, and that's where they are when they get that far down.
Got it. Okay, we have another question from Ted. He said, may have missed the info, but you touched on ISAs. Can you recommend some or talk more about that?
Yeah, so ISA stands for Inside Sales Associate, and what it is basically a service or a person that can help you convert leads to compete with the op cities of the world out there. And so we talk about different services out there. There are companies out there that just do this, and so you can find them pretty much anywhere online. But I would say that that's what OpCity does. OpCity is that they have their own ISAs, and some of the brokerages out there, larger brokers, have their own ISAs. So that's one of the services I was talking about for Homes.com, is that they do have their own. We have an ISA department where we do have people just literally waiting by the phone to convert and qualify leads for people out there. So some of the other companies you might have heard of, there's like Agentology does that. That's all they do. And so, but they charge you by different buckets and where you are. Whereas I was saying, in some of these ones like Homes.com, they do an unlimited amount. So we'll qualify an unlimited amount for a flat rate, price. And so, when it makes a big difference, especially as you're generating more leads. The other thing you want to look into when you're looking for an ISA is this: do you qualify leads from all sources? So, for example, I know there might be a lot of Zillow customers on the phone. Zillow will only qualify Zillow leads or Trulia leads on their site. They won't qualify a Homes.com lead for their team. So now you have to get a separate ISA just to convert those leads, which doesn't make any sense. So one of the things that Homes.com does is their lead concierge department will qualify any lead. So whether it comes from Zillow or Realtor.com or Homes.com or any source, online or offline, because they also give you your own unique phone number, so you can put that on your advertising. So if somebody calls that number, it goes right to the ISA, the Homes.com lead concierge department, that can then answer the phone and qualify the lead for you. So that's an important thing, because otherwise, if the company's not going to qualify all sources, then what are you going to do with those other sources that are coming in? Who's going to qualify those leads? And that's where you want to make sure you ask that question. So great question, Ted. But yes, that's the answer, is that you want to get a place that does all lead sources, and Homes.com is one of them.
Yeah, that's great because you think of homes.com as advertising your own piece. You don't realize that you do it for everyone. So that's really a good piece of information. One other question. I have my domain pointing to the company provided website for each agent. How can I get that optimized?
Well, number one, that's a great idea, the fact you have that, because whether somebody searches by the agent or your company name, all the SEO credit is already going to your company, which is great. So that's the number one thing, that's a good thing that you're doing, because you're getting SEO credit for each one of those domains that are pointed towards your site. So being able to optimize it, what I would do is, and really, my recommendation is first of all, think about what you want to do as far as like, where would I go? Like, how would I optimize it as far as on my site, off my site, backlinks? And there's a lot of opportunities because each agent can also go on to to a number one of these referral sites or these directory sites and put their information in, put that backlink that goes right to your site. Now it could be a lot of work to do all that but you have, let's say you have 10 agents, that's 10 opportunities to go to all these different directory sites to get yourself have these referral backlinks coming back. My recommendation on that would be connect with Kevin, and he can go over some ideas for you that you can just do and you can look up. But the main thing is that think about what the strategy would be. You do have 10 agents, and there are ways you'll be able to make the most of it, but you have to think about, am I going to do a blog for each one? I think what I would do is start with the directory site. So like going to places like Yelp, going to places and creating these profiles for each agent, and then having that website link on there, because each one will link back to your site. So that gives it the SEO credit. And that's when I say directory or review sites, I mean sites like that. And there's a bunch of them out there that people don't even know that will really help boost their SEO credit.
Got it. And Ted had a follow-up question. He said, for the ISAs that you have, do they also help you out with social media posting as well as lead conversion?
Well, social media posting, as far as posting, we actually have a separate company that does. It's a separate service that we offer that does that. So we actually do have our own social posting. Our ISAs, our lead concierge department specifically is just sitting by the phone to answer the phone or respond to leads that come in via the internet, and so that's all they do. And like any ISA, you want to be focused on just that. If you're interested in like social media services where you want to optimize your social pages through posting content, focusing on Facebook advertising to generate leads that way, you can definitely call that. I think that I got the number up here. We can help you with that as well. But we do the social media services as well on there that does everything from Facebook ads to optimizing your various pages. But again, we don't. The ISA, our lead concierge department, all they do is qualify your leads that come in through the various sources.
Gotcha. And Damien had a question. This was kind of funny. He said, so what service do you offer? I'm sorry, it's not clear to me. So maybe you could do a summary of the, because I think you talked about a couple of different things you can do here today. So just a summary of all the ways that homes.com can help you with lead generation, conversion, and qualification.
Sure. So homes.com is one of the leading search portals out in the United States today. So our traffic is more than 15 million unique visitors to our site every month, between that and our mobile app or our mobile website. And through that, when people are on our site, where they can search for properties across the U.S. for rent or for sale, when people are on our site, they're interested in properties like anywhere else, and we're generating leads off of these property listings. We're generating leads off of some of the other advertisements we do on our site. So the services that we offer, number one, are lead generation services. So the Local Connect product that I had mentioned on there is a product where it's marketed by zip code. So you can go on, look at your favorite zip codes, and invest in those, and we have a limited amount of availability. So we only offer, in the case of the Local Connect product, 3 full shares per zip code. So a lot of the zip codes might be sold out, but there might be an opportunity. You might have a full share that you can buy, and you'll be able to then generate leads, buyer and seller leads, in that zip code. So they're semi-exclusive, and it's a great opportunity to capture leads in your desired areas. The other things that we can do is you can market yourself with we have a city sponsor ad where you can focus on an entire city. So this is a way for you to make yourself out there branded in the favorite city. So it's like a virtual billboard where you're right in with all of the different listings, and people can easily perceive you then as that neighborhood expert, as that city expert, to connect with you to look at properties in that area. Then we also mentioned when you're generating these leads, who's going to answer the phone when the leads come in? Who's going to qualify the leads when they're coming in via email? That's what our lead concierge department is. So we have a lead concierge product that will then qualify leads, not just from homes.com, but from any lead source out there, whether they're coming in from Zillow, Trulia, Realtor.com, doesn't make a difference. We'll qualify the leads for you. And then once we qualify, we'll actually call you, get you on the phone, and transfer the call in a warm handoff to you. So we offer lead concierge services, and then the SEO optimization. So one of the things that people want to do is they want to figure out, how do I make my website generate leads? And that's what our search engine optimization team does. And we also offer websites. I mean, we sell templated websites. They look really nice. They fit they check all the boxes that I mentioned. They're easy to search. They look really nice. They're user friendly. But we've powered some of the largest website brands out there today. Remax is one of them. And we've powered these sites. We've been able to build sites. We've got thousands of customers, so we can offer websites, but more importantly is we want you to generate leads from your website. So we do SEO, and we also do social media services as well. So people want to have help with posting to their social media pages, Facebook ads that generate leads off their open houses, off their listings. We do that as well. So we're really we've been called the Whole Foods of the real estate portal industry, because we don't just focus on, hey, here's a zip code, that's it. We want to be able to say, look, we're not just going to be this this giant to go out there and generate leads off other people's listings. We want to be more industry friendly. What else can we do to help out? And so we found other ways through search engine optimization, through social media, through websites, branding, that we can do as well. But yes, and what I would encourage anybody to do, if they're interested, it is the 800 number, the one before this one, this 888-918-2918. That number, call that number. That's homes.com, and you can speak with one of our experts, and they can talk to you about different things, as far as they can look up zip codes for you. They can give you a quote on a website. If you're interested in anything else, social media, they can help you with that. If you're interested in optimizing your website, then that's the one you want to go to Kevin for, and he'll do a free website audit. So we do a lot of things, and I know there wasn't a whole lot of time to cover everything that we do, but the main thing here is that we're here for you to help you out. And once we can learn more about you and your business, we can help you find the best solution to help you generate the greatest amount of leads, or whatever you happen to be looking for in your business.
Okay, and one final. Carmen asked and he said you already answered some of it in your last question, so thank you. But his question was, people seem to love Zillow. Some people do, some don't. How do you compare, contrast, and compete with them, and how would you benefit me more than a Zillow zip code? So you kind of just did, but is there anything else you'd want to add as a final question answer for today?
Yeah, so a couple of ways that we definitely define ourselves being better than Zillow. Number one is that with the lead concierge product I mentioned we have, we will qualify any lead from any source. Zillow will only do theirs and Trulia. So anything that's only from brands they own. So if you have leads coming in from other sources, they won't qualify those. So that's one way that makes us different and better. The other thing is that we offer services like search engine SEO services, like social services for social media management, and we also have, our websites are much better than theirs that they make out there as well. And the other thing is that when you think about Zillow, and I know a lot of people like them, they buy a zip code, but they might be sharing that zip code with 20, 25 other people. In many cases on homes.com, you'll be sharing it with 2 people, maybe 3 at the most. So it gives you a lot more exclusivity in many of the best zip codes, as opposed to what Zillow can offer, based on the fact that so many people are sharing the same zip code there.
Got it. Okay. Well, I think you did a great job with answering the questions, and this is very interesting. I hope the folks on the phone really benefited from what Homes does, and expanded the idea that Homes is a whole lot more than a website. There's a whole lot of ways that they can really partner with you to create a very successful lead lead gen, lead qualification, and lead conversion funnel. So, Joe, thank you so much for your great wisdom and advice. And again, if anybody needs help, Kevin@homes.com is right there. Give him a call or call 888-918-2918 to learn more about ways that homes.com can help you become the best agent in your market. So with that, I think we'll close it out for the day. Thanks for you that stayed on after our time was up, because there was a lot of great questions. And Joe, thank you so much for your help with this. This was awesome.
Thank you, Marilyn. I really appreciate it. Thanks again and thank you, everybody. And we look forward to hearing from you soon.
Yeah, and we will be sending, a couple have asked this question. We will be sending out a recording of this to everybody that registered and everyone that attended. So, and it's also available on the RE Technology Inc. YouTube channel, as well as retechnology.com, or will be once the recording is edited. So feel free to share this with your friends and family and colleagues that are looking to be better at their business as well. So have a great day, everybody, and I hope everybody has an amazingly successful fourth quarter.
All right. Thanks again.